Silksong is a very good game. And I don't think that's very controversial of me to say. Team Cherry is an incredibly talented team, and over these past 8 years, they've managed to not only create one of, if the best Metroidvania.
Second thoughts I have those. I have those all the time!
Not only deliver on most, if not all, of their promises to fans.
So do okay.
But also handle expectations in a way that I think is unprecedented in the gaming industry. Now, most of what I'm going to say in this video is also applicable to Hollow Knight. I didn't make this video to express that these races are new. There are already thousands of hours of Hollow Knight content on YouTube.
Watch this. Pretty cool, right?
I just want to gush about how this game makes me feel. And if you'll allow me to praise it on a closer scale, I'd be happy to. Silksong starts out with this very cinematic cutscene, and despite how cryptic it may be, it already sets a precedent for the atmosphere of this game. Silksong wants you to pay attention. It wants you to notice its world. And by deliberately being cryptic, the game has a greater sense of what the player understands about its world at any point in time. Players who pay careful attention to its world are rewarded with a much easier path through the game. So you unlocked a harp that lets you open these doors? Cool, you can head to the next area. But unless you've been paying attention, you might have missed this door all the way back in the starting area, or this one on the other side of the map.
I'd like to donate all of my current funds to you. What is your bank account information?
Oh yeah, let me just pull out my wallet.
Oh, you almost got me. You almost got me. I'm not that stupid. I'm a little stupid, but I'm not that stupid. All right. Oh, I should have saved him. Wait, I could have jumped off of him. Wait, I'm going to reload the area. I want that berry. Okay. Ah, darn, so close. Oh, dude, the tech is crazy. The tech is insane.
Not only is Silksong good at hiding valuables, but also at hiding shortcuts. Shortcuts are arguably a greater resource than most the game has to offer. Finding quicker and safer routes to traverse the world saves you time, money, health, sanity, and I think the best example of this that I've found so far is hidden in Shellwood. In this area, the game guides you down a path that ultimately results in a boss fight. A hard one. I died over and over and over again here. Okay, so before I show you this clip, I just want you to know that I am good at video games. I swear. Okay, here we go. So what I was doing there was actually I was manipulating the RNG values for her attacks. But it's a 1 out of 4 chance. So, you know, I got unlucky. You know, speedrun strats are. You know how it is. But I just wanted you to know that that was the game's fault, not mine.
Okay. I don't like how it goes like do 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 do.
And the path you take to get there is long and arduous and frustrating. I hate these bell tunnels. But if you go out of your way to sit on this bench over here, you can actually kill this thing to uncover a shortcut to the boss room, assuming that you broke this wall a little earlier. This place is just riddled with traps, bro, I swear to God. This shortcut not only requires a bit of careful observation, but a bit of setup as well. And the player is ultimately rewarded with a safer path, as well as with the time they would inevitably end up saving with the amount of times they will die here. Silksong is probably the best sounding game that I have ever heard in my life. There is something about the sound direction and the overall quality and attention to detail that is awe-inspiring. Playing through this game sounds like a movie. And that's not even to mention the music. The music in Silksong ranges from tranquil and reflective to powerful and violent. And Silksong's gameplay almost necessitated this dynamic. As you explore an area and slowly piece together your map and a general sense of direction, a more temporally relative mood is probably best. But what that means is different from area to area. Shellwood has this beautiful melody. It's very tranquil, very reserved. It leaves room for the player to take in their environment. But it's also very contemplative, very deliberate. It's building up to something big and important, which is very reflective of the actual gameplay progression in Shellwood. But I would say the pivotal moment, the moment when I started to actually pay attention to Silksong's audio engineering, came from the blasted steps. This area feels very unique in the sense that there's a sense of openness and vastness that you don't really feel too often in this game. But the feeling doesn't necessarily come from any freedom you have as a player, more so that it feels foreboding. This place is loud. It is violent. It is indifferent to your existence. I think the best way I can describe it is that it's the same sort of fear that I had while playing Subnautica, that I'm exposed, I guess. And that's exactly the type of feeling I get from this song. But the music also carries a sense of finality. Though Hornet continues far beyond the blasted steppes, this is the last stop in each bug's pilgrimage to the Citadel. Thousands have died on this journey. Very, very few make it here alive. And the music reflects this. It is wild. It is almost omnipotent. It is pensive. It almost asks the player to stop and reflect on everything thus far. Characterization is also another very important part of Worldfeel. And developing Hornet as a character has multiple very big impacts on the player's moment-to-moment interactions and overall gameplay experience. After all, the player's view of the world is going to be framed through Hornet's dialogue and actions. How she sees the world will impact how we see the world, and needless to say, they did an incredible job. Hornet is characterized as very experienced, very wise. She's this stoic badass that isn't afraid to fight monsters double or triple her size. There's this part in the game where Hornet is captured by flies and held captive in their fly prison. She's stripped of all her gear and resources, and now not only needs to find a way back to her stuff, but also out of the prison as well. You, as the player, feel incredibly weak during this section. You no longer have your needle, which means you're dealing far less damage overall. But you also don't have your cloak, and you lose some movement abilities as well. Oh, brother. For a brief section of this game, you are robbed of all of your progress, and it feels terrible. In the gameplay, it's incredibly difficult to kill any of these enemies, and you'll need to rely on other means of damage in order to do so. While exploring the prison, you'll be able to spot the perpetrators, playing around with your gear. These disgusting black creatures. I can't wait to get my little thing and then just beat the shit out of them. And when Hornet finally finds her way back to her stuff, Exhibit A. Oh my god, I just broke his neck. She's not messing around. And now with your gear reobtained, you fight off a mob of enemies, feeling far more powerful than you have in the last 30 minutes of gameplay. And to push this feeling even further, during this section, your damage is actually buffed by 1.5 times. She is lethal.
I don't have any tools. Oh, let's go. Oh my goodness.
But there's another aspect that influences the player as contextualized through Hornet, and that is the bosses. The bosses in this game are very good. There are so many of them, and so many things I could praise them for, but I only want to focus on two bosses in particular. The Cogwork Dancers, as well as the Moss Mother refight, which we'll talk about first. Moss Mother is the very first boss you encounter in the game, literally minutes in. She's incredibly weak and poses little to no threat. I'd assumed that a vast majority of players were able to beat her on their first try, but a little later in the game you're able to re-encounter her, though it's far, far removed from the main path, hidden behind a secret. But this time, instead of just one, there are now two, both with buffed health and attack speed to reflect the player's current stage of progression. This fight is much more difficult than it would seem at a first glance. With there being two of them, there's less space for the player to move around, not to mention how they can attack independently, oftentimes interrupting the player from attacking the other while it's down. On top of this, the ads that spawn throughout the boss fight only further limit the amount of space the player has access to. It seems as though it would be embarrassing to admit, but so far, this is the boss that I struggled the most on. There are definitely more difficult bosses in this game, don't get me wrong, even at this stage of progression. But similar to the Savage Beastfly, another boss that many people had trouble with, myself included, the fights that are more chaotic, the ones where they summon enemies and don't have a consistent manner of dodging each attack, take longer to get the hang of than those which do. The last judge is very big and intimidating and has attacks that literally cover the entire screen. But over time, the player is able to learn where to move and in what periods they can attack in response to the boss's actions. It's that slow, deliberate trial and error that makes this fight so fun. And though the player may be stuck here for an extended period of time, chipping away at this boss and slowly gaining an understanding of its attacks and its movements, only to finally come out on top, is very rewarding. That's why games like Silksong have such passionate fan bases. And it's why I really enjoyed the Moss Mother refight despite how difficult it was for me. With each death, I got better and better. I found myself dodging between the bosses and the ads in ways I felt I couldn't just 10 minutes earlier. It is very rewarding to go from this to this. And only after 50 minutes of fighting the same boss over and over and over again, defeating it made me feel proud of myself. Like all that time wasn't wasted, and it isn't. The skill you gain from fighting the bosses directly plays into the core gameplay loop. And looking back at that fight, given all the things that I've learned, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would waste another 50 minutes because I really like this fight. The difficulty made me feel like I earned it. But difficulty isn't the only way to leave a lasting impression on the player. Sometimes it's the path leading up to the boss fight that makes it so significant. Or in this case, the story that it tells. Up to this point in the game, the main objective has been to reach the Citadel. Every bug you come across tells you of their journey towards it or gives you some words of advice for yours. The Citadel is promised as this beautiful sanctuary, a city of riches and reprieve. But once you make it up past the blasted steps and defeat the last judge, you're beheld with the sight of a city in ruin. In the upper halls of the top floor lies a room in which two identical statues sleep. They've laid here, dormant, unmoving, for an indeterminate amount of time, seemingly stretching back as far as the Citadel itself. But upon entering their chamber, they awake, They fight in unison, attacking on time with the tempo of the music. Slow at first, but when the player has dealt enough damage, they speed up, applying further pressure. Far underneath the city, decrepit streamers cover the walls. The atmosphere is dreary and strangling. Corridors stretch onwards. Darkness looms over every step. There is no light here. All of it is artificial, a fabrication. Any hopes of reprieve must first be met with a transaction, and speakers blare propaganda at the poor souls left here to slave away for the rest of their lives. The enemies cough from breathing foul air and drop very, very few rosaries upon death. They too have been bled dry, their comfort taken advantage of for the sake of a profit. There is no beauty in the underworks. Above lies the Coral Chambers, an area which reflects the promises of the Citadel much more. The walls are covered in gold and silver, white banners draped in every corner. Though clearly a remnant of its former glory, it's easy to envision the glory that the Citadel used to offer. The two mechanical beings strike faster and faster before haltering their flurry to meet in the center of the arena to embrace. These are lovers. Their attacks are slow but calculated, and they move as one. They depend upon each other to pose a significant enough threat. But still, Hornet endures, slashing at them with each opportune moment. Though not a difficult boss, I don't think it was intended to be. I don't think Team Cherry decided to place this boss here to act as a challenge, but to offer insight into the story of the Citadel. When the chambers are juxtaposed with the underworks, it paints a clear story of the Citadel, one of exploitation and propaganda. As Hornet says herself in the Hunter's Journal, this is the ugly cost of grandeur. The dancers reflect the idea that the Citadel was originally built upon, a reprieve from the outside world, one where safety and a comfortable life was promised. But over time, the bastardization of the working class led to the eventual collapse of the Citadel. And though it now lay in ruin, the Clockwork Dancers remain, eternally betrothed in its walls, the last true remnant of the Citadel. When Hornet deals a fatal blow to one of the dancers, the other one returns to its pedestal, just like they had both done before. The music winds back up and Hornet prepares for the last phase of the fight, but the last dancer does not compensate for its missing partner. Its moves are slow and depressive. It moves towards the middle one final time, ready to embrace its lover, but catches nothing and slowly falls to the ground. Though many of the inhabitants are long gone and the Citadel lay in ruin, the Underworks still moves, still powers the city, just like how it was designed to, though much slower and much more depressive than before. It plays its role, even if there isn't anyone on the other side, just as the dancer without its lover. Hornet destroying the last dancer signifies the end of the Citadel, putting an end to the lies and the exploitation, the false promise and the illusion of grandeur forever put to rest. Team Cherry is incredibly good at world building, and with it, atmosphere. I highly doubt that this game would have captured the attention of as many people as it did without atmosphere already being something that Team Cherry excelled at. But every time I compare Hollow Knight footage to Silksong, I can't help but notice how much more complex and intricate every inch of this game is. It really goes to show how much time, love, and effort went into this game. Over the last month, while creating this video, I've come to appreciate how a game tells its story. Through its world, through its characters, and through its atmosphere. When you design something to be watched or read or played, honing in on what emotions you want to convey and designing around them is what leads to impactful experiences. And this is something that Silksong is inherently designed around. Proper care was taken into the design of Silksong to ensure that the player feels something. Team Cherry wanted you to feel small and insignificant, to push you into gaining better gear and progressing through the game's story. They wanted you to feel lost and curious, as that's what drives the exploration and how the player finds shortcuts to make the game easier. Team Cherry wanted you to feel defeated, to feel frustrated, because without the prolonged difficulty of each boss fight, the experience wouldn't feel earned. And all of these are aspects the original Hollow Knight excelled at. But instead of writing over what they had done before, devaluing the original, they expanded upon it. They pay homage to it. The only reason this game did as well as it did wasn't just because it had been 8 years, that certainly helped. It's due to Team Cherry's dedication to ensure that this game only added to the original. And almost as if in response to all of the game's challenges that Team Cherry carefully designed and structured throughout the game, while facing herself in the void, Hornet says something that almost transcends the meaning of the game itself, wholly to distinguish this version of herself. In Hornet's own words, "I have already stood sentinel to one dying land. That role I will never play again. While I live and possess the strength to resist, the kingdom and the bugs within it shall not fall." Hornet is not just a warrior, she's a protector, which is something you definitely need when browsing the web, which is why this video is sponsored by... No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine? That'd be a crazy setup. I tried my best to do Silksong justice. I don't think that I am the right person to delve into, every little single detail about the game or pick apart the lore and such. I do enjoy my time with Silksong, and I still haven't beaten it. I took a little break from it, similar to this video. So if things feel a little loose or disconnected, so it's probably why. In other news, I've been trying to remonetize my channel, and if this video is up, then hopefully I have. If that is the case, then channel membership should be up as well, which is... Ooh. I have been hesitant to do something like this in the past, because I just... I don't know, I never really felt like my content really deserved it. And God knows I don't upload frequently enough for it to really, be warranted either. But I think a good middle ground is only spending money on things that are for this channel. For example, I bought a capture card recently to record some Switch footage because my old one was very bad. It was like a $20 or $10 capture card. But this new one, it was almost like $150. Which is a lot out of my own, pocket. And I think that having extra income specifically for channel-related purchases would be pretty neat. I would like to upgrade what I have so far. No pressure if you don't want to. I can't really force you to, but if there is a way I can, I will resort to it. Let me know. Discord is in the description as always. But with all of that said, my name is River. You've been watching SNES Mess, and I'll see y'all next time. Take care.